Welcome everyone to our second C# programming tutorial, and your host is none other than Morex, the coder. Without any further ado, let's discuss the topics of this tutorial. So in this tutorial, we're going to cover operators, then we will have a discussion on conditional statements. Cool. So operators, right? Operators are divided into different categories. So in this tutorial, we'll talk about two, which the first one is the arithmetic operators. So this is when you want to do just a mathematical operation, whether you want to add, divide, or subtract, or multiply. If you're familiar with maths, you should be familiar with this, except for some few. So the syntax will change for some few of these operators. And then we have comparison operators. This is the topic that is going to lead us to discuss the conditional statements, because conditional statements makes use of the comparison operators in most cases. Cool. So let's get started with our arithmetic operators. So we have addition. So this is just you adding numbers, right? So you use a plus sign, so that doesn't change if you're from the math background, so you should be fine. Subtraction is the same thing, it's a minus sign, right? And then we have division. So with division, we have two different types of division. We have float division, and we have so the float division is going to be using the slash, right? And then we have the float division, which so basically the difference between the two is that, if you remember from our discussion, float, right? A float is a decimal number, right? So meaning that float division returns the division or the quotient with the decimal, right? And then float division, you just wanna return the whole number without even worrying about the decimal part. Cool. And then we have multiplication. So we're just going to be multiplying two numbers, right? So this is an asterisk. So that's where things changes. Most of you all from maths will be used to a cross. So we're replacing that with a star and asterisk in coding. And then we have exponentiation. So this is just raising a number to a power, right? And then we're going to use that function, right? The power function. Last but not least is the modulus, which is the percentage. And this is going to be the one that allows us to get the remainder of a number, right? Cool. So before we go any further, it's better if we go and explore all these operators in code. Today we are changing things. I'm no longer going to be using the JDoodle tool, but I'll be using my favorite editor, which is Vim. So one thing I'm going to do first is create a directory mkdir. Let's just call it C# tutorial, right? But then since I have a directory with the space, I want slash then close everything, right? cd C#, there we go. Cool. If I type ls, right, this is just going to list all the files inside my directory. I have no files in JDoodle. Already the file was created, we just had to set it up. Cool. So in this case, we're doing everything from scratch. So I'm going to use Vim, and then let's just call this operators.cs for C#, right? That's the extension. And there we go. I press I to insert, and then we're going to set up our environment. As I've mentioned, I will discuss about this in future tutorials. So we're going to be using a namespace called system, right? And then we're going to create our own namespace. Let's just call this operators. And and then we're class called Rex Decoder. Let's just call it Rex Decoder. There we go. Cool. Now what's left is the main function, static void main string then args. Cool. There we go. So we have first one is addition, right? Second one is subtraction. Cool. Third one is division. Division, we have multiplication. Cool. And then we have exponentiation. I spelled it right? There we go. And then last but not least, we have modulus. Cool. So addition, as discussed, you're just gonna use that operator, right? So let's just display the sum. So let's assume we have two numbers. We have A of integer type, let's just say 20, and then the second number B, which is data, right? And then now you wanna print the sum. So let's get the sum first. Sum is gonna be the first number plus the second number, so that's how you use the operator. And then use the console dot right line. Shouldn't make any syntax error this. So cool. We're gonna have sum and then we have sum, right? So upon executing this file, what we want is we want to get the sum. So the sum is the sum of 20 plus data, right? So if we go to our compiler, I'm just going to compile that side. So this is one of the other things I love about Terminal, is that it makes it easy for me to code. Not only that, but then I get to improve my productivity in terms of my understanding, because as you've seen, there's no pop-ups, there's no suggestions for the keywords you write. You have to know that by head, right? So it helps to start off that way as a beginner. Then you move on to IDEs and all that when you're handling big projects. Cool. But enough of that. So we have saved our file, which is 336 bytes. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use the C# compiler, then the name of our program. So the name of our program is operators. Let's see, ls. Oh, we didn't save the file. There we go. We saved the file now. We are in the wrong directory, that's why. cd C# tutorial, there we go. So we can reopen our Vim this side. There we go. And then if I type ls, okay, I have my file. So C# compiler, then I run this, right? And then it's gonna execute my program, right? If it executes successfully, it will move on to the next line. And what I want to do is I want to interpret, now I want to execute the instructions. So with this line, what I did is I converted my program, or my C# program, into machine language, right? Then I can execute this program in any machine. So it's operators.exe, right? That's the file that gets to be created, or that's the interpreted or compiled program. If I run this, I get sum, right? So this returns the sum, which is 50, right? because we're adding 20 and 30. That gives us 50. Cool. Let's add the subtraction. Same thing, right? So I'm just going to use the same numbers. Console dot write line, and then we have div. So what we're gonna have there is we're gonna have a minus b. So you might be wondering, why did I not create a variable first for something that I could just do it there, as long as I have my brackets, and I just noticed a syntax error there. So let's go. There we go. We want that there, right? Cool. So you can have a bracket there that is gonna hold that data type, and then it's gonna be fine. But then if I don't have the brackets, I was gonna confuse my compiler, because I'm not adding a string with an integer. I'm only playing around with just integers, right? So now if you run this, right, this is gonna compile, and then you can actually just do this, which is the same as how your play button is. It executes, so it compiles, then run the program. So that's what I'm going to do this side. Run the program again. There we go. Then we have that. So it compiles, then run the program. So the difference is minus 10. Why? Because we are saying 20 minus 30, right? It's 20 minus 30. That gives you minus 10. Division, same was, right? So let's say we want to do division. So division, we have two types. So let's do the float division first, right? So the float division first, say you have two numbers. If you remember our discussion, we have double, right? So we have a, b, c is equals to 30, and then we have double d, which is equals to, say, 7. Cool. So now let's display this. Console dot write line. Okay, let's just not forget this. So we have to fully specify that this is a digit, this is a double, right? A double. And then what we have there is write line, and then we're gonna have div for division, and then we're going to use the brackets again. So that's going to be c over d. Cool. I hope this doesn't really confuse anyone. This is just the division you're making. Your c is a double type, your d is a double type, so you should expect a double data type, right? So if you execute this, you just press up arrow to do the whole thing. You will get your division with the decimal type. Cool. So now if I was to do the same division but using floor div, right? So let's do this. Cool. So it's gonna be console dot write line, and then it's floor div, and then we add. So we're just gonna do the same thing, c over d, just so that we see the difference. Cool. So after this, what we want to do, we just want to execute, and this gonna execute, and there we go. We have float division. But then you remember, we haven't actually implemented the float division. If you remember from our slides, we have math.flow. So let's do that. So what we have is we have math dot, let's have a space there for a while, flow, and then inside That's why we're gonna have C divided by D, right? And there we go, right? That's what we did. So we just had to add this to perform the float division, and this is our float division, right? First things first, let's clear our terminal. Cool. And then we execute our program, and then you will see that now you have performed, or you have successfully performed a float division. You disregarded the decimal part and got your whole part. Cool. What I want you guys to also think about when you are doing your self-studying is that why do we need float division, or what's the purpose of float division while we have float division already? I know the difference, I see the difference, but where would I apply it? So that's the question that I want you guys to go and ask yourself. Cool. So let's head over to a program. Let's edit multiplication. This you'll be able to do. You're just gonna multiply, right? I think since we applied this, I guess I'm gonna just apply the pow. So it's gonna be math dot pow, first number, then second number. So you can just say this is power of 2 to 2, which is gonna give you 4. That shouldn't be that hard. And I want you guys to also do this one to do. So this is just you using that sign. So you have A, B, and then you get the remainder when you divide A by B, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it. I do hope that in terms of arithmetic operators, you guys are okay and are fully understanding. Cool. Let's head over to our slides to finish up our slides. Then we'll wrap up the presentation. So we're done with that. So we just need that. Oh, we're almost there. Cool. So operators, right? Operators. So assignment operator, right? This is the operator that we know before. So I just added it here just so that we can just discuss a bit about it. So this is an equal sign. So what it does, it assigns a value to a variable. That's basically what an assignment operator is. So we have comparison operators. So these are the ones that I want to talk about. This is you comparing two things, right? So in this case, we're going to be comparing two numbers. We can also compare two strings. We can compare characters and all that, but we'll discuss about that in future tutorials. So we have an equal sign, right? An equal sign is just two assignment operators which creates an assignment, which creates an equal sign, I meant. And then we have not equal, so this is just an exclamation mark and the assignment operator, and that's where the exclamation mark came from. Oh, that's where our not equal to came from, right? And then we have greater than, which is just going to be greater than, and then we have less than, which is just going to be less than, right? Those are our comparison operators. What I want us to do now is that with the comparison operators, we use them when we want to get the value of a boolean, right? So if it's true, it's 1. If it's false, it's 0. So allow me to just do the conditional statement, and then we apply these comparison operators to conditional statement. Cool. So this is a conditional statement. So this is a part where you get to create a condition that if this condition is this, then do this. If this condition is this, do this, right? So we have an if statement, and we have a condition, then we have open brackets, and then we have statements inside, right? And then we close. But what if one condition is not enough? You want to have multiple conditions. To do that, you will have an else if, and you're going to have the second condition and your statements, right? And then if all the statements you have, so you can have else if as many times as you want, but if all the conditions are not met, then you're gonna have the default one which catches that and just do a certain action, then you close. And that's the end of a conditional statement. Let's go and practice this so that you get to feel more confident. Cool. So conditional statement. Cool. If, and then you have a condition, right? So if 5 equals 5, what happens? So I'm gonna print something, console dot write line 5 is equal to 5, right? That's what I want you to print when this condition is met. So this is a condition, right? But then with an if, that has to be of a certain type. From the types that we've learned, which one is it? It's a Boolean, right? Either true or false. So is it true that 5 is equals to 5? Yes or no? Yes, it is true. And then you go. There you go. So I want to give you a challenge before we end this tutorial and ask you to go and do the else if and then else, right? So just follow the format I had in my slides and you can add more, and then that way you will be able to understand. I know we discussed the comparison operators, but we never really applied them, but there's not really a way to fully apply them because with the comparison operators, you're comparing two things and you get a boolean. Where you wanna use a boolean, that's where you use comparison operators. I do believe that that made sense, and if it did, that brings us to the very end of our second C# programming tutorial, and we shall meet each other next week.